Hey, you guys, this is the Couplings Fire podcast. Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot. I'm Taylor, a volunteer firefighter and also a firewife to my favorite firefighter. Join me as I talk anything and everything fire related. I don't claim to be an expert, I just love to talk fire, and everything I say is my own opinion. My goal? To inspire anyone listening to take the steps to bettering their department, however they can. Let's get on to the episode. I am so frustrated, you guys. And I know this is coming out of left field. Usually, when I start these episodes, I'm in a good mood. I say hi, I introduce myself, I try to put a positive spin on something with it, and I'm very hyper, I'm very into it. And today's not that day. Something happened recently online, and online's a fun place to go, but it got me really frustrated with what we do collectively as a fire service. What can happen in these Facebook groups, in Instagram pages, anywhere online. And it's not even online, it's in person too, and we'll be getting into that. But I don't even know how to get into this. I don't even know how to start except for just starting today. So, recently, in a Facebook group based around first responders, I'm not going to say which one it is. I'm not even going to say the details of the post. I'm just going to tell you approximately a roundabout story of what happened. Because I can guarantee you can put this to more than one instance. It has happened time and time again, and it angers me so much every time. Because we don't have to do this. Okay. Step back. Start out with the situation. So here recently, in one of these Facebook groups, somebody asked a question. And she was, yes, it was a girl. That doesn't matter. This can put to anybody. But she was new into the first responder world. I'm assuming she's from a small town. Who really knows? But she was asking questions about something. And kind of put some information out there for us to kind of get a handle on the background of her question and then ask the question. And the group took to it very quickly. They reacted very quickly. The post was only live for about 20 or so minutes. And comment after comment after comment on this post not only pointed out to her that she was doing something wrong, and I understand, I do, where they're coming from, but it was more than just pointing it out. They were almost to the point of harassing her and not victimizing her, harassing her and blaming her for not knowing that she was doing something wrong, that this was not the right way to go about things. They were so hard pressed into her that she was doing the wrong thing, that this could be a violation of rules they have in place or regulations they have in place or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter what the actual situation was, but she was doing something wrong and that she should know better. Yet she is brand stinking new into this thing. How is she supposed to know any better? So me coming into this post, already seeing it, not live for very long, comment after comment after comment on here, just pressing harder and harder and harder in. And maybe these people didn't mean it that way, but you know what? It is really hard on a Facebook post to be able to get your tone and overall message across with your intent. And so if I'm taking this negatively from my spot, and I'm not even the one who asked the question, I'm not even this girl who put it out there, I can only imagine what she's thinking, how terrible she's feeling, how judged, how guilty, how embarrassed she's feeling from all of this. I understand letting her know, hey, this is wrong. Yes, we need to let people know, because that is the only way we as a fire service and people coming into this learn. But you don't need to be mean about it. Eventually, people started telling her she needed to take the post down, or she should take the post down. Saying, girl, just delete this now. Just take it down. There's no reason to have it up. Blah, 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 blah. You what? No. No. That is the wrong thing to do. And you want to know my feelings why? That is such good information that got put out there. That is a situation and a question I can guarantee you so many other people out there, they either have that question or they don't know it's a wrong thing, whatever. They have no idea. And now by asking this girl or telling her she should take it down, you are taking away probably the only time someone's talked about this that's still on record, because this has happened so many times in the past for other things, on other pages, other questions, that people have been pressured to take it down. So you don't have the answer out there for people anymore, so there's no answer. So then somebody else will come around and either do this themselves because they don't know what's wrong, or ask the same question and get ridiculed again. There's so many other people out there who are just like this girl. And it's not a bad thing. That's where they come from. That's where we all came from. There was a point before we entered the fire service. We didn't know anything about it. Do you remember that? Do you remember what that felt like? That you knew nothing. Your best guess of everything was what you saw in Backdraft. What you saw in Rescue Me. That was it. That's what you had to go by before you got into this fire service. Why do we blame the public for not knowing things about the fire service? We shouldn't. I've talked about it before and I'll talk about it again. It's not their job to know everything about us, to know all of our regulations, to know all the laws about stuff. They have no idea. They don't need to know. Do you know everything about a doctor's office? Do you know everything about a lawyer and what they deal with and their code of conduct and all that stuff with it? Do you know everything there is to know about being a contractor, about anything? Doesn't matter what it is. You don't. You don't. So why do we expect the public to know everything there is about us? And why do we expect new firefighters, new first responders, whatever realm of first responding they're in, to know that? And let's be honest, because I came from a small town and I've been around other small towns for a lot of my life growing up and everything. These small towns don't always operate within regulations. Don't always operate within perfect laws. That's a whole nother battle. We're not going to get into that today. That's across the entire U.S. this happens. You can pick a fire department out of anywhere. Anywhere in the rural area across the entire U.S. and you can find something wrong with it. Heck, you can find, not even across the rural, you can find any city department and find something wrong with it. But these smaller departments, let's say, they may not even know any better. They may not be telling their members any better. Who knows the situation? Yes, that fire department has a duty to say that stuff, to learn about that stuff. Again, that's another whole topic about this. But it is not this girl's fault for not knowing. She can't know everything. She can't learn everything that fast. So it's up to us to teach people like that what's right, what's wrong, what to be cautious of, standard practices, what's dangerous and what's okay. And why? Not even just what, but why? And accept the fact that they didn't know it before, but they do now. So go forward and learn from it. Tell other people it. Explain to other people that it's not the right thing. Explain to your department that, hey, I learned this and we need to switch, or whatever it may be. That is how information gets passed along. That's the only way information gets passed along, is by somebody learning it and passing it on to somebody else, or by the information, after having been stated, to stay out there so other people can find it. Other people have resources for it. I mean, why do you think it was such a tragedy that the Library of Alexandria burned down? Because all of that knowledge was lost. They had nowhere to go for that same information except for word of mouth. That's it. That's it. Posts on Facebook being taken down for, honestly, I don't use the term lightly, but for bullying and harassment that happen into it. First of all, that shouldn't happen. But those posts should not be taken down. Because people learn stuff out of those posts. People learn stuff from those hard questions and the being told what they're doing is wrong. There are no such thing as stupid questions. Everybody says that, right? You've heard it 1,000 different places. How many people actually believe that? I do. I really do believe there's no such thing as stupid questions. Because I've always been the one who's had those stupid questions in my brain. But then I realized when I asked those questions, there's so many other people out there or in my group that I'm learning with that had the same questions but were too scared to ask. They were too scared to be belittled, too scared to be judged. So they didn't ask. So on this post, comment after comment after comment. Like I said, only about 20 minutes. That's it. I can't tell you how many comments were on this post by the end. There were a lot. And they all just kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the fact that she was doing something wrong. Nobody was offering constructive criticism. Nobody was saying, hey, it's okay. You know something different now. So I spoke up finally. And about 12, 15 minutes in to this post being on, and I told her, don't delete the post, whatever you do, because everyone's telling her, like I said, to delete this post. I said, do not delete this post. There's so many people out there that are just like you, unknowing in these types of situations, and this is the only way to get the information out there. I told her, if anything, turn off the commenting, right? That sometimes that does need to happen because these posts get out of control, but don't delete it. You now have been educated to why you shouldn't be doing this. And I said, it's not your fault. You didn't know. And it's not your fault that you didn't know. That's the way we learn. It's the way we are. So go and use that knowledge that you just learned to change yourself and others in the future. And I really pressed to her that I hope this didn't keep her from asking questions in the future. Because what a sad day that is when we treat a fellow first responder like this. It is heartbreaking. And they never feel open enough again or trusting of the group again to ask another question. Or worse off, they leave. Worse off, they either leave the Facebook group, which this girl ended up doing. And I wish there's something I could do about it. There's nothing I can. But worse yet, not just leaving the Facebook group. What if she ends up leaving this first responder realm altogether? Because of the interaction she just had. On these Facebook posts, once it gets to a point where, let's say 20 comments have happened. Okay, let's just put a rough number on it. And all of them are saying the exact same thing. You really don't have any more to add to the conversation if you're just going to say the exact same thing. I don't think so. So if you just want to get in there and put in your same opinion that everyone else is stating, just to dig it into somebody just a little bit harder of how bad they're doing, of what they've done wrong, or how stupid a question that was, or take their post down, or whatever that is, don't say anything. You just want to go along with the crowd and be part of that group, that it factor, that you want to be part of that almost mob mentality with this, and just don't respond to that. If you have something constructive to say, if you have words of encouragement and wait for a person to move past it or another take on something, yes, go ahead, comment, add to the conversation that way. But don't add into the bashing. Don't add into the same thing everyone else is already saying, because you're not helping anything. You are not helping anything. You're just making it worse and that much more overwhelming for the person who put that post in. And this, like I said, this happens in so many posts all the time. So many different groups. I have talked to my husband, I've talked to my friends, my peers in the fire service about this, because this has shook me. If you can't tell from my voice, this has very much shaken me. And they all agree. They see it. They see it too. They don't know what to do about it, and neither do I necessarily, except for talk about it on here. Because that is the only way we start to change these things, is by talking about it. Bringing up the issue, trying to find solutions for it. It breaks my heart every time I go across another Facebook group and something like this happens. And like I said, it's not just Facebook. It's not just Facebook. It's everywhere. Let's talk about in person for a second. Because you're probably thinking, well, I'm not on social media. I'm not online, so this never happens. Okay, so let's go in-person interaction here for a little bit. What do you say about the new rookie who comes on and doesn't know how to run a chainsaw? You got it in your head? I can guess. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that these people don't know how to run a chainsaw. They've never done it once in their life. We had to start so far back from where we wanted to start this academy. We spent less time on actually doing reps because we had to teach them how to do it. Oh, darn. Pity you. I understand. I do. I do understand how it's easier for them knowing that stuff in the beginning. I do. But not everybody has the same life experiences as you did, as other people did. And especially nowadays, things are changing so much where overall, the entire society doesn't have the same experiences as the last generation did. We don't know how to use chainsaws right off the bat. Most of us don't. Even in rural areas. There are other things we have to teach ourselves now that we didn't have to before. People aren't necessarily going through a whole trades life beforehand and then coming into the fire service. People are starting in the fire service from the get-go now. A lot more often, it seems like, from what I've been hearing from across person to person to person. We have to be willing and happy to train these people who want to be there. So when you talk about these people, these new recruits, maybe they're on probation, maybe they're coming in through academy, maybe you're on the volunteer side and they just came on and whatnot. However it looks like for you. When you keep complaining about them not knowing stuff like that, you're doing the exact same thing. Especially when you say it to their face or around anybody that they know, you're doing the exact same thing. You're telling them that they should feel judged. They should feel guilty for not knowing it. They should feel embarrassed for not knowing it. And what you're doing is conditioning them in their brains to never ask another question, or another question that may be deemed as a small question, as a stupid question, as a dumb question. They're not going to ask things ever again. They're going to see the way you treated them and take that forward, and it's going to be a scar left on them. So it's going to affect them for the rest of their fire service career, of their first responder career, And they're not going to grow from it. They're not going to be asking these questions they don't know and learning at the rate they should be. You are ultimately, and it may be unknowingly, maybe you are doing this unknowingly, but you are ultimately causing the fire service to slow down, to not progress at the rate it should be, to not produce the firefighters it should be producing. Because you are normalizing the fact of pointing out what people have done wrong and that their questions aren't good enough or too small or whatever it may be. You are saying without saying it that they should not be there because they don't know this thing they're asking. That they're not worthy of a fire service career because they do not know this. That it's their fault. It is their fault that they don't know this thing. And it's their fault that they're going to have a hard time with it. It's their fault if it takes them longer to learn a skill. It's their fault. I mean, would you want to hear that? Day in and day out, that it's your fault? Would you want to hear that on the first day of you learning something completely new to you? The first day you learned how to record a pulse. Did they get mad at you? Did they tell you it's your fault that you don't know how to do it? Did they give you some scoff off the handcuff comment that you should have known this? Somebody else should have taught you how to do this? When the first time you learned how to do blood pressure, somebody treat you like that? The first day you learned how to use a pump, did somebody treat you like that? I hope the answer is no. So if that's a no, why do we do this to the people who've never used a ladder before, never set up a ladder, never climbed a ladder, worked off a ladder before, never used a chainsaw, never used tools, maybe never used an axe? Heck, I was there. I'd never used an axe before. And yes, I got funny looks and I got weird comments about it, and people, again, it may not be intentional, but that is the culture we have built as a fire service. And it stunted me for a while. And it happens to other people too. It happens to plenty of people out there. And I'm sick of it, and I don't want to see it happening to anybody else. So going just a little bit step back, when you talk to these people, when you say that stuff to their faces, when you are making these off-the-cuff comments, you are telling them it's no good. You're telling them they're no good. You're telling them they are such a burden on you. That they've been doing things wrong their entire life up until this point, and if they would have just done this one thing right, they would have been okay. You are putting that pressure on them the same way you'd get it on one of these Facebook posts. And it's a pressure that can either, maybe they stick through it and they stay. Or maybe they leave your fire station, go to another fire station. Or worse off yet, they entirely leave the fire service. It happens. It happens a lot. The more I think about this, I wonder where this mindset comes from. I wonder where we as a fire service, why is it so hard for us? Why is it hard for us to collectively talk to newer people coming in and not remember where we were too? And not realize that people have different experiences coming into it. They don't know the same things, and they shouldn't be expected to know. Where did it start? What happened? What's behind all of it? I don't know. And it's so frustrating to not know, because that means I can't help find an answer for it yet. And it's something I think I'm going to be constantly looking at and constantly trying to figure out, okay, what's some small way we can change this? What's some small way we can find the root of the cause to this. Is it pride? Is it the need for tradition? Is it... I don't know. I mean, those kind of fit, but not fully, in my head at least. If we all had more compassion and put our pride aside and help those of us who have these questions, let them know that it's okay they don't know, but let's start learning now. You now know, so don't make that mistake or whatever again, or like let's go past that and get better. Let's put it towards the future. Let's normalize that, you guys. Be careful of what you say on social media. Be careful of how you say it to people. Even if you're commenting on one of these posts and you don't intend for it to sound mean, for it to sound pressuring, it can, especially depending on the mindset of the person who wrote it. It really can. So be very, very careful on how you write these things. All it takes is a few extra minutes or seconds, a couple times rereading what you're going to post, what you're going to comment, to realize how it may be taken from another person. And those few extra moments can save the fire service from losing a member that would have been a fantastic first responder. They could have been. You don't know. You don't know. Just be more mindful. And if you guys see, I'm going to put this challenge out there to you guys, to whoever's listening. If you see a post like this happen on Facebook, if you see something starting in person like this happening, stop it. Actively get in there and tell everybody to stop. Or reach sometimes these posts get out of hand. I understand. You can't always do that. Reach out and offer words of encouragement in the comment. Tell them it's okay they didn't know. Tell them don't delete the post. Tell them, turn off commenting, whatever it is. Tell them don't get discouraged. Reach out to them directly before they end up leaving the Facebook group. Before anything escalates too far. Tell them you understand. Tell them you want to help in a constructive way. Tell them I'm sorry for what's happening here. But let's find a way to work around it. Tell them this isn't the entirety of the fire service. But it does happen. And it sucks. But there's so much more to the fire service than what you're seeing here. Those people who ask those questions, they trust us. They trust us so much to ask those questions. Or I can guarantee you they've already gone through their minds of how stupid their question is, of how much they will be judged, of not knowing what responses they're going to get. All this stuff has already gone through their brains before they post, probably for a day or two. I know because I've been there more than once. So when they finally get the guts to post it, and that is the immediate reaction they get, that does a lot to a person. And no wonder these people want to get out. They're seeing an ugly side to us that doesn't need to be there. I don't know what to say after this. It's just so frustrating, and I wish I had a better answer than to just spread the word out. Get the word out there, it's okay. If you see these posts, try to stop them if you can. If you can't, reach out to the person and let them know that it's okay. We are so much better than this, you guys. I know we are. I've seen it. These people who are asking these questions haven't had that chance yet. They don't know the good from the bad yet. And we owe it to them. We owe it to them to help them out. They are the next generation of firefighters. They are the next people coming in that will be taking our place eventually. We owe it to them to give them a hand, to help them out, to bring them up to our level, to be strong firefighters, both physically and mentally. And strong doesn't mean absent-minded, doesn't mean blocking all your feelings out. I know some of you don't love it when I get emotional on here. I can't help it. Especially when I feel so strongly about something. Emotion is not a bad thing to have as a first responder. It's actually a very good thing to have. You just need to know how to use it correctly. And I will never apologize for being passionate about something that makes me happy, makes me proud, even makes me frustrated and angry. I'm not going to apologize for it. We need to remember, and if you haven't even learned it, you need to learn. Emotion is good. Emotion's okay. Because emotion is what pushes us to get stuff done. It's what pushes us to go higher and farther and be better and be more resilient than what we ever were in the past. Emotion is what pushes us to, on the fire scene, go and do what we all know needs to be done, but is very dangerous to do. Emotion is what keeps us as a fire family and trusting each other. Emotion is what keeps us grounded at home with our families when we finally come home to them again. Emotion is what brings us higher and closer to God or whatever higher being you believe in. Emotion is all around us. And either you learn to live with it and embrace it and use it for good, or it will use you for whatever it wants, and a lot of times not in the most positive ways. I think that's all I have for this one, you guys. I don't even know how to end this one. Just think about what I said. Take it to heart. Next time you see something, do something about it, whatever you can in your instance. Every one of us can do something. Even if we don't think so. Even if we think we're too lowly on the totem pole or whatever it is. Even if you think you're too far out from the situation. That's not your place or whatever. You can still do something. Think of that little thing you can do to make it better. For that person. Sometimes it's just listening to them. Validating their feelings that they have off of it and doing your best to help. Any of us can do that. That doesn't take any special talent. Doesn't take any special knowledge. Just think about that when you go into this next week. The weekend, your day, your evening. I don't know what time you guys happen to listen to this, but whatever your next frame of time is after listening to this, think about it. Take the time. And I'm going to call it. That's it for another episode of the Couplings Fire podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Anderson. Thank you for being with me on sometimes an emotional roller coaster, but what I hope will someday better us as a fire service as a whole. I'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for coming by and listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Couplings Fire Podcast. See you next time, everybody.